RavenQuest BioMed is a diversified cannabis company with divisions focused upon cannabis production, management services and consulting, and specialized research and development. RavenQuest maintains a research partnership with McGill University focused on cultivar strain recognition, plant stabilization, and yield maximization of the cannabis plant. The company focuses on partnerships with indigenous communities. RavenQuest BioMed trades on the CSE under the symbol RQB.
I'm joined now by George Robinson, CEO of RavenQuest BioMed. George, welcome back.
It's always good to be back, James.
George, what's the latest? What's going on at RavenQuest BioMed? How many of those orbital gardens are spinning now?
There's a lot of them spinning right now. It's actually going quite well. Second crop's going to come off in about another week and a bit, and the COAs for the first crop should be in today, so really a great time right now.
Sure. When you say COAs, what do you exactly mean by that?
Certificate of analysis. This is what tells us how good the product was after the first grow cycle, and that's coming back now, and it should be in later today.
Great. So you're on track to produce 11,000 kilograms this year.
Well, that's the annualized production. I think by the end of the year, we'll do about 6,000 to about 7,000 kilograms by the end of 2019.
And so what's the end of 2019? Fine. But what about the end of 2020?
We'll be at 11,000 kilograms right here in beautiful Canada. And then as we look to our expansion, we're going to be much higher than that.
Sure. And is that when profitability begins for the company?
I know profitability will happen by the end of the year, or this year, 2019, and then it really looks very, very nice coming the end of 2020. We're looking at about EBITDA rates of somewhere between 38 to 42%.
Well, that's great. So you're expanding your production by licensing the equipment to partner growers. Have you signed any more of those agreements lately?
Yeah, we actually are. We've done a joint venture agreement with our friends out in Norway. We'll be expanding into Portugal as our first destination. The joint venture and us will do. This joint venture will put about 1,800 gardens into Portugal in 2 locations. That'll produce about 35,000 kilograms of cannabis come 2021.
Okay, and how does the economic model work for that when you're dealing with a partner in, say, Portugal?
Yeah, it works really good. So the joint venture partner out of Norway is going to put up the money. We'll build our 2 facilities in Portugal, one just south of Lisbon and one up by Porto. And how that works is they put up all the money and they have exclusive use of our technology, and we split that 50-50. So all of the revenues coming off come at 50-50. We'll run and operate the facility with our expertise, and that's how it's going to work. And right now we're looking at about 35,000 kilos.
Wow. So 2020 is going to be very profitable by the sounds of things.
Yeah, that will get everything started up there. Luckily, both buildings that we're looking at in Portugal are up and they're there, so we don't have to actually break ground. It looks like construction schedules would be probably 6 to 9 months, and then we can start first production in Portugal.
You just closed on $2.5 million. Is that enough to get you through to putting all the gardens that you need in all these places?
No, the $2.5 million was actually quite strategic that we were up to. We didn't really need the money. We had some things that we were doing on a convertible debenture, and we were allowing some people to come in and take some shares in place, and that was what that $2.5 million was. Right now, we're cash flow positive. This was a more strategic event. All the money for all the gardens that are coming up outside of Canada are already going to be prepaid for by the joint venture, so no cash required, and all our facilities in Canada are built.
Sure. Now, you've demonstrated that you can actually produce more kilograms per unit of space than other growers. Tell me how that affects the energy consumption and therefore the cost of growing as well.
Well, okay, let's start off with some basics. Right now, just on electrical power and climate control power, we use 65% less because we use the full cubic footage of the room. And since everything's inside the drum, we have a smaller area where we have to control the climate. So power right off the get-go is 65% less. What it shows right now is anyone in a greenhouse is using about 5.5 megawatts of power for 10,000 kilos. For us, we only use 1.1 megawatts for that same 10,000 kilos. So a much better cost savings from the electrical side.
And you get an extra grow cycle relative to a conventional grow environment.
maybe 2, depending on how good the people are in the flat table environment. We get six grow cycles. Some flat table environments may get 4, 4.5, but we're at 6 minimum.
Sure. So how does this translate into your all-in cost per gram produced?
Well, we don't always like talking about it too publicly, but let's just say right now, as we see it and how everyone else is reporting, when we use less power, less water, and less nutrients, we seemingly are about 25 to 30% less than the lowest cost producer that we see right now, different than not putting in the equation outdoor growing.
And so going forward, George, is RavenQuest BioMed more focused on the recreational or the medical market?
I think it has to be a balance in today's world. You have to look at the medical side, and definitely out in Europe, it's going to be 100% medical focused. Here in Canada, we'll have a small entry into the recreational market, but we really want to make sure that there's enough product for the medicinal market in Canada. And then as we see a draw on the provinces to ask for more recreational cannabis, we'll take a look at that. But right now, we're going to put about 80% of our product into the medicinal market.
Wow, fantastic. George, that's a great update. Let's leave it there for now. We'll come back to you soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks again for chatting.